We are still over 200 days away from the start of the 2024 college football season, but it's never too early to look at some Big 12 power rankings. And in today's video, I'll give my 2024 way too early Big 12 power rankings, including where do the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime land and who's at number one. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxwell here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. And if you want more Big 12 videos here on the channel, we are a predominantly Texas Tech YouTube channel after all. If you want maybe one or two more Big 12 videos a week, all I ask you to do is simply like the video and hit that subscribe button. That's it. That's a clear indication of, hey, y'all want to see more content like this? We'll put it out there like that. Before we get into my power rankings and way too early power rankings at that for the Big 12, I want to hear from y'all. Who is your favorite Big 12 team? Are you part of that new crop of schools, that new 8 coming in over the past year and coming in this year, the new 4? Or are you part of that older 8 like Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Kansas? The list goes on and on. Let me know down in the pinned comment below your favorite Big 12 team. All right, we're going to start and move backwards from 16 to 1. We're going to start with 16 to 12 on this first one, and we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bearcats. And if it's any indication of where Cincinnati will go, for reference, last year I had the West Virginia Mountaineers finishing dead last in the Big 12. They won 9 games, so congratulations to Scott Satterfield and the Bearcats fans. You're going to win 9 games if it's any indication. I'm obviously kidding, but self-awareness is key. Sometimes you just got to make fun of yourself. I mean, West Virginia made fun of me in a hype video, so shout out to the Mountaineers for that one. We'll talk about them here in just a second. I've got the Bearcats at 16, then moving down to 15, it's the Houston Cougars. They've got a new head coach. I love the hire of Willie Fritz. It's just, hey, you're going to have to rebuild that a little bit, take a year or two to get some guys in there that really suit what he was doing at Tulane. I think it translates to Houston, but not in year number 1. Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham arguably had the toughest job in all of Power 5 football last year in the sense that he took over a program that had a self-imposed bowl ban and went 3-9. He had countless players transfer out, and they showed some grit, but they're still working their way back. They landed a couple of solid players in the portal. I think they'll be a little bit improved. Just how much? I'm not sure. It'll probably be a rough year number 1 for the Sun Devils in the Big 12. As for number 13, I've got the Baylor Bears. Raise your hand if you have no idea what the hell's going on in Waco. I don't understand. I don't know. Dave Aranda's back. That was a choice, not one that I personally agree with, but here we are. I do like some additions that they added, both to the roster and the coaching staff. The main one for the roster is Daquan Finn, the Toledo quarterback transfer. I mean, I think he's a stud. It helps that he's 23, 24 years old. He's a veteran quarterback that's kind of a stopgap guy for guys that they have coming in potentially in the future. But they need to win now, and so they got a guy at offensive coordinator in Jake Spavital that I like. I don't know if I love it necessarily, but I thought it was a good, solid addition for what Dave Aranda has to do this year because let's face it, there's no hotter seat in the Big 12 than Dave Aranda's. It's that simple. So he's got to win this year. But overall, I mean, their roster is not very inspiring. At number 12, the BYU Cougars. I love what they're doing out there in Provo in terms of the culture. They've done a phenomenal job at building a culture for the Cougars, and they landed a quarterback in the transfer portal in Gary Buchanan, who has some Big 12 experience. Remember, he started his career at Baylor. Then he went to South Florida. Now he's back in the Big 12 out there in Provo at BYU. They bring back some notable defensive players. That said, BYU is one of those teams, and I'll use this phrase for another Big 12 team here in a minute. They're a believe it. I'll believe it when I see it type team, I should say. Because they've got some pieces, but overall, I think they're a middle-of-the-pack, lower-tier Big 12 roster right now going into 2024. Shoot the messenger, I guess. All right, let's move to 6 through 11. Starting with 11, you have the UCF Knights. They ended the 2023 season on a 5-game losing streak, but did add notable Arkansas quarterback transfer KJ Jefferson. Gus Malzahn, remember, has some Arkansas ties, actually started his coaching career up at Northwest Arkansas as a high school coach and was a damn good one at that. Then moved on, obviously has had success at Auburn, and now he's at UCF. They were the lone newcomer to make a bowl game last season. Is a jump possible where we're talking about UCF in the top 6, 7? I think so, because I have respect for Gus Malzahn. I just can't project it with what some of these teams in front of them did in the portal in the high school ranks to improve their roster. So for me, UCF comes in at number 11. Here it is. Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes come in at number 10 for me. They are by far the most intriguing and fascinating program in the country. And that is just what? 14 months removed from Colorado going 1-11 and losing by an average of 27 plus points per game. Listen, whatever you want to say about Coach Prime, he attracts eyeballs. Like it, hate it, love it, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. He attracts that, and he's done a really solid job, I think, in the portal, landing a top 5 portal class, also landed a 5-star offensive lineman through the high school ranks. You keep guys like Shadur at the quarterback position. You got Travis Hunter coming back. They went out and addressed some needs in the portal from the standpoint of offensive line and defensive line, adding over 9 guys in the portal for those respective positions. Do I think they make a jump in the second year or the first year of the Big 12, second year of Coach Prime? Maybe. I think it's possible, but I can't project that right now from the sheer standpoint of you have a lot of new guys. How do they jumble together? How do the pieces fit? But there's one thing for certain about Colorado. They're going to be the main attraction in their first year of the Big 12. At number 9, TCU Horned Frogs. This program had that magical run. Obviously, it didn't end the way that they wanted to in terms of the title game getting blown out in 2022 by the Georgia Bulldogs, but they have some solid pieces there, and I like Sonny Dykes as a coach. They added a new defensive coordinator from Boise State, a former Boise State head coach, and Andy Avilos. They have a new starting quarterback in Hoover, who actually started down the stretch last year for them, but will be the main starter now with Chandler Morris gone. I just wonder, they have the talent on the roster, but is it enough in terms of depth? I don't know what their level is from starter to, second string. That there's a significant drop off there, and I don't know if they sustain 1 or 2 injuries like every team does during the course of the season, if they can withstand it. So they come in at number 9. Speaking of injuries, arguably the most injury-riddled team in the Big 12 last season, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Outside of Colorado, I'm not sure there is a team in the Big 12 that had that self-reflection moment before the portal opened in terms of what the hell do we have to get better at? Texas Tech addressed that and then some. Now, does that mean they're going to take a huge leap and be that dark horse to win the Big 12 like Brett McMurphy and other national media members had them in 2023? No, they're the other team that I'm in, and I cover them, right? I talk about them almost on a daily basis here on the channel. I'll believe it when I see it. But that said, you have to give credit to Joey McGuire and crew for having that self-awareness, going out and addressing the offensive line at a high level. You get a guy like Vinny Scurry. You get another guy like Davon Carter at your guard positions. You add a couple of tackles. You go out and add 2 impact wide receivers from the portal in Josh Kelly and Caleb Payday Douglas. And if you're a frequent watcher of the show, I have to get Caleb Payday Douglas in every video because Payday is one of the greatest nicknames I've ever heard. Then you go and you look at what they did in the high school ranks. They have the best Big 12 recruiting class according to every site, whether you look at 24/7, Rivals, On3, it doesn't matter. And not to mention, they had the highest commitment in program history in 5-star wide receiver Micah Hudson. I think the Red Raiders could finish in the top 4 of the conference. That said, I will believe it when I see it. Next up, we have Iowa State. They return virtually everybody on offense. You got Rocco at your quarterback spot. You bring back numerous impact players, both on the offense and defensive end. They'll be one of the toughest plays in the Big 12 this year. There's no doubt about that in my mind whatsoever, in the sense of it's a Matt Campbell team. What do you expect from a Matt Campbell team? By the way, I'm surprised there's not more jokes of Matt Campbell going to Alabama. I kid, of course. I kid. Next up is the West Virginia Mountaineers. You made me look awful, West Virginia. I'm giving you a little bit more credit. Shout out to Kuz's Corner. He's a great one here on YouTube if you want more West Virginia Mountaineers coverage. Good friend of the show. They called me out in a Big 12 hype video for them in terms of talking down about them. That is a Baller-ass move, in my opinion. They bring back Garrett Green. Totally was wrong about him. Not to mention they bring back 2 dynamic running backs in Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson. Neil Brown has this thing going. NIL has obviously helped, but he has laid the foundation for in 2023 to help build upon. And he was the guy that had the hottest seat in the Big 12 going into 2023. What he did last year and the Mountaineers did last year on the gridiron, I think that snowballs a little bit, and they are the 6th best team going into 2024, in my opinion. Now we're going to speed it up 5 through 3 here. No surprises. I've got the Kansas Jayhawks at 5. Really what it comes down to for Leopold's team, in my opinion, is Jalen Daniels. Can he stay healthy? I think Jalen Daniels is arguably the most dynamic player in the Big 12 outside of Travis Hunter now. Travis Hunter obviously changed the scale a little bit in terms of what he's doing. But you bring back a guy like Devin Neal, one of the best running backs in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is loaded with running backs next season. The potential is there for them to play in Arlington, but in my opinion, it all comes down to how many games does Jalen Daniels play? If he plays 10-plus games, I think Kansas has a really solid shot to play for a Big 12 title. If he plays less than 9, it could get a little rough there for the Jayhawks. No doubt about that. At number 4, Kansas State. You lose Will Howard, no big deal. Avery Johnson, Pop-Tart Bowl MVP. Shout out to the Pop-Tart Bowl. I might eat some Pop-Tarts after I record this video, to be honest with you. By the way, let me know if you're 12 minutes deep in here. I ramble. Let me know your favorite Pop-Tart flavor down in the comments below. Mine's probably strawberry or the berry one. Anyway, I digress. Avery Johnson, name you need to know. He is a guy that could potentially win Big 12 Player of the Year next year. Not an exaggeration. He's going to be a true sophomore quarterback. He's dynamic. He's a better passer than people think. And Kansas State just always seems to be a really good football team. They always do. And it would not shock me at all if you see Kansas State back in Arlington again. I truly believe there are 5 teams in the Big 12 Conference where if you put them preseason, projecting them in Arlington, I could see it. And then after that, there's 3 or 4 other teams where I'm like, yeah, if everything goes right or virtually everything goes right, they could get there. Kansas State is firmly in that top 5 where it's like, yeah, I could easily see that. Next up is arguably the most stable program in the Big 12. They're obviously a newcomer in the Utah Utes. You got a guy like Kyle Whittingham leading the way, and then you got damn near a 50-year-old quarterback in Cam Rising. I'm kidding, of course, but he's pretty close to AARP, and that's not a shot. He's a solid quarterback. Hopefully he can stay healthy for the Utes next year. But they're also returning a ton of firepower on offense and multiple starters on defense that rank top 10 nationally in the country. They'll be one of the toughest teams in the Big 12 to beat, regardless of where they're playing, whether it's in Salt Lake City or any road game on their schedule. I definitely look out for the Utes in 2024. All right, that leaves 2 teams, right? And we're running long here in this video. But at number 2, I've got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Alan Bowman, Allie Gordon, the Doak Walker winner from 2023, and Brennan Presley are all set to return on offense, and a few of their offensive linemen as well. Mike Gundy and crew seemingly always have the Cowboys competing, and when you underestimate them, they perform at their best, but now they're older. They have a ton of production coming back, and I think if you have Oklahoma State lower than at least 3rd in your way too early or power rankings or whatever it may be, think you're probably reaching a little bit. This Oklahoma State team is going to be really good. They bring back a lot of production, as I mentioned, on offense, but also on defense. I think the Cowboys are going to be one of the toughest outs and one of those teams that nobody wants to see on their schedule, mainly in Stillwater in 2024. That leaves one team at number 1, the Fighting Jed Fishes, a.k.a. the Arizona Wildcats. The Wildcats are many people's favorites to win the Big 12, and I am one of them as well. You return a dynamic duo at quarterback and wide receiver for the Wildcats, not to mention countless members of a defense that only allowed 21 points per game while their offense scored north of 30. Their offense will no doubt carry them. This is an offensive team out there in Tucson. There's no debating that. But they are going to compete at a high level and be one of the toughest teams to beat in the sense of they can beat you in a multitude of ways, through the air, on the ground, with their defense. Seriously, look out for the Wildcats in 2024 in their first year of the Big 12. All right, it's a 15-minute video. I know that was a long one. Let me know if you agree or disagree. with any of the placements of these teams in my way too early 2024 Big 12 football power rankings. Listen, I get it. We have over 200 days, but it's never too early to talk about Big 12 football. It seems like college football, it's a year-round thing now, and it never stops. And I'm absolutely here for all of it. And one more time, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video and tell me down in the comments below what your favorite Big 12 team is. And again, I'll ask for it one more time. Like the video and hit that subscribe button if you want to stay in the know and have more Big 12 videos here on the most engaging Texas Tech and the fastest growing Texas Tech community here on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.